Hey Fragheads! Ako nga po pala si Gabriel Muyar, and today I kinda want to talk about a topic that might stir up the community a bit because this is a very divisive one. What I mean by divisive is hati yung opinion ng tao about dito. If you haven't guessed it already, it's maceration. Yeah, pag-uusapan natin yan. Now before I start, I want to read a solid disclaimer here, okay? Lahat ng sasabihin ko dito are based from my research and my opinions. Hindi ako nagpapatama or hindi ko dinidisregard yung mga opinion ng taong kontra sa sasabihin ko sa video na to. Hahaluan ko to ng research-based information which is unbiased and experience-based information which is, well, galing sa experiences ko mismo. Kung perfumist ka and sobrang experience mo sa perfumery to the point na ikaw pala yung nag-mentor kay Olivier Polch, Pierre Bourdon, or kay Alberto Morillas, then please leave your insights in the comments below and educate me and other fragheads as well. If you're only here with a closed mind and you're armed with negative comments just to bash me or mapatalsik ako or whatever kung ano man yung trip mo, then please leave now because this will be a waste of time for you and for me because hindi ako mag-entertain ng negative comments na magbabash lang kahit na hindi nila napanood yung buong video. On the other hand, if you're the 1% na tao na hindi sensitive about sa topic na to and hindi kayo iyak ng basta-basta kasi kinontra ko yung paniniwala mo, then please join me in my quest to find the truth about this controversial topic. Also, I won't be too intricate and technical pagdating sa video na to kasi ayokong maguluhan yung mga beginners sa pag-explain or sa pagbabato ng mga terminologies and mga words na hindi ko rin maintindihan. So if you're expecting this to be an in-depth video explaining why maceration happens or why it's a myth or why it's true, then you'll be very disappointed. If yun yung habol mo, then I suggest that you do your own research because there are a lot of articles out there that would explain it thoroughly. So with that out of the way, shall we start? Now, in order to talk about maceration, first, we need to define what it is. Okay, sorry, nagpalit po na ako ng damit kasi pinagpawisan ako sa sobrang hot ng topic na to. Okay, wait lang. According to rosalas.co.uk, maceration is a process of allowing the different fragrance oils to blend together in a solvent, typically alcohol, for a period of time. During maceration, the fragrance oils dissolve into the solvent and create a unified scent. This process can take anywhere from a few days to several weeks depending on the fragrance and the desired scent. So sa madaling salita, yung pabango kasi merong dalawang components yan. Fragrance oil, pati perfumer's alcohol. Yung maceration, ito yung pag-age o pag-ferment mo sa pabango na yon para maghalubilo sila ng maayos. Alam mo yun, para mag-blend sila ng maayos. Yes. And usually, itong pag-blend na to or hinahayaan mo lang sila, para magkakilala sila, it takes about a few days to a few weeks or even a few months. Some even take years. Maceration helps the fragrances blend together. When you mix different fragrances together, they don't automatically blend into a harmonious scent. In fact, they can often clash and create an unpleasant aroma. Maceration allows the fragrances to blend together slowly and evenly, creating a unified scent that is pleasing to the senses. Sa madaling salita ulit, pag pinaghalo mo kasi yung fragrance oil pati yung perfumer's alcohol, hindi siya pleasant sa ilong. Maceration allows the fragrance to mature. Fragrance oils contain volatile components that evaporate quickly. When you first mix the fragrances together, the scent can be overpowering and harsh. Maceration allows the fragrance to mature and become more refined over time. This process helps to create a more subtle and sophisticated scent. So let's say kumuha ka ng pabango, spray mo sa likod ng kamay mo, is already macerated kasi wala ka masyadong naamoy na sobrang tapang na aroma ng fragrance oil and sobrang tulis na amoy ng perfumer's alcohol. Thanks to maceration kasi nga it's actually a part of the fragrance creation process. Correction! Nagpakonsulta ako sa kaibigan kong perfumer kung tama pa yung pinagkasabi ko sa video na to para may iwasan yung mga iyakin sa comment section. Before pala i-macerate yung pabango, may tinatawag tayong dilution which happens before maceration. Ano yung dilution? Yung dilution kasi yung dahilan kung bakit nawawala yung tapang na amoy ng fragrance oil. Kasi sobrang tapang na amoy ng fragrance oil, lalo na yung alcohol to the point na gumuguhit sa lalamunan mo pag inaamoy mo. Credit sa kaibigan ko perfumer. So yung dilution yung dahilan dahilan kung bakit nawawala yung harshness ng pabango. And after ng dilution comes maceration para mabuo na yung scent profile ng perfume. Gets? So, bro, kung ganun, kung importante yung maceration pala sa proseso ng pagpapagawa ng pabango, bakit sobrang controversial niya? Ito kasi yun. Yung maceration kasi, it's actually a misnomer. Ano yung misnomer? Sabihin nun, mali yung paggamit ng mga tao sa term na to. Ano ba tawag sa ginagawa ko pag hinahayaan ko lang yung pabango ko sa cabinet or whatever? Tawag dyan is maturation. Maturation. So before tayo mag-transition sa maturation mismo, does maceration exist? Yes, it does. And it's a vital part of the perfume creation process. So, ano nga ba yung maturation? Okay, ito ngayon yung papag-usapan natin ngayon kasi ito yung dapat nyong pag-usapan, hindi yung maceration, it's maturation. Ito yung definition ng maturation, okay? Maturation is the process of letting the newly compounded blend of fragrance material age before it is put into a base or a carrier. For example, alcohol in the case of a fragrance. This is an essential part of any quality manufacturing and it is often skipped in modern days where time is seen as a constraint. Ngayon na ini-edit ko na tong video na to, ngayon ko lang na-realize na hindi ko pala napaliwanag na maayos kung ano yung maturation. So let me explain it to you. Maturation happens after maceration. So nangyayari is after i-macerate ng perfumist yung fragrance, biniblend pa ito ng husto para mas lalong mag-combine yung dalawang components, then doon siya minamature. Minamature siya for about months, sometimes even years. Then, ina-quality control ng mismong brand yung perfume na na-mature na. Then after i-mature yun, binobote na. Then after quality control yun, nilalagay na sa bote, then binibenta na. So that's basically the whole gist of that. Hindi ko lang na-explain na maayos and pinahaba ko lang siya na sobra. So yeah, back to you, past Gab. And usually ginagawa to ng mga designer frags na mismo, ng mga brands na mismo, para pagkabili nyo ng pabango, gamit na agad. Para di nyo na kailangan isit yung pabango sa cabinet nyo before nyo gamitin. Kasi nga, well, as a consumer, pagkabili mo, gusto mo gamit na agad. Kaya you don't want to waste a ton of time for it. A minimum of 2 to 3 weeks is needed for all of the ingredients of the formula to harmoniously blend together in a chemical process similar to the aging of wines. As I said, sobrang raming perfumist na yung nagko-compare sa wine and sa pabango. Kasi nga, they think that, well, perfumery is art as well as wine. So, does maturation exist? Of course it does. And the reason why sobrang raming taong skeptical sa maturation na process is because usually nga pagkabili mo ng pabango, it's already been maturated by the fragrance brand itself. Yung nag-manufacture ng pabango na yun mismo. Now, ngayong alam mo na kung ano yung maceration and maturation, let's talk about the third culprit of this process that we're doing in our cabinets. Oxidation. Now, what is oxidation? It's right here. Oxidation is when you introduce the fragrance to oxygen molecules, which is nangyayari yun pag spray mo yung pabango. May papasok na hangin doon, tapos yun maghahalubilo yung oxygen molecules sa chemicals and sa ingredients and sa components ng fragrance oil na yun. As I told you, sobrang volatile ng fragrance oil, meaning sobrang dali neto mag-react chemically. Okay? Kaya nga, sobrang delicate ng mga tao pagdating sa perfumery, like hindi nila tinatapat sa araw or hindi nila nilalagay sa sobrang magulo in terms of temperature na kwarto. Because this actually affects the fragrance itself. Okay? Napapanis to pag nilagyan mo ng hangin or pag in-expose mo sa kung anumang elemento. According to CarmentBell.com, oxidation doesn't mean expiry. As you can see, perfume doesn't like light, and when they are too much exposed, some fragrances can change color drastically. This phenomenon is called oxidation. And it's completely natural. But be careful, because this does not necessarily mean that its quality degrades. Meaning, hindi porket nag-oxidize yung pabango, nade-degrade na agad yung pabango. Sa madaling salita, hindi porket na-oxidize mo yung pabango, is mapapanis na to. Okay? Hindi ganun ka-volatile or hindi ganun ka-fragile yung pabango na pag spray mo ng ilang beses, dapat takpan mo na agad ng kamay mo para walang pumasok na hangin. Okay? Oxidation doesn't mean that it degrades the perfume, as the article says here. But of course, wag mo tong hayaang mag-oxidize masyado. Kasi pag sinobrahan mo to ng oxidization, of course, yung mangyayari is mapapanis yung pabango dahil nga dun sa alcohol mag-evaporate. Lalo na if natural yung ingredients na ginamit sa fragrance oils, may chance ang mapanis yung pabango mismo. So, oxidization is not the enemy here. Actually, somewhat helpful kasi nga it helps make the fragrance stronger according to some people. Or most people. Marami nagsasabi na if you let the fragrance sit for a while you spray maybe 10 spritz of the fragrance, may papasok ng hangin dyan and it will actually make the fragrance better. Marami din nagsasabi na masama yun and hindi mo dapat minamacerate ng or minamature ng ganun masyado yung pabango kasi mapapanis. Here's one thing that I must say is hindi mapapanis yung pabango ng basta-basta nakastore siya ng maayos. You shouldn't really treat perfumes as a petty snowflake that pag hinawakan mo or hinayaan mong malagpasan ng hangin is sasabog na lang bigla, mapapanis na lang bigla. Hindi ganun yung pabango. Dapat mo lang gawin para ma-prolong yung lifespan ng pabango is to just store it in a cool place and don't let sun hit it. And that's it. Kasi it's inevitable, as I said earlier, for the oxygen to come inside the fragrance bottle. Kasi nga you use it. Each time you use it, you introduce oxygen to the fragrance juice. Oxidation is also yung dahilan kung bakit maraming juice yung nagbabago yung kulay over time. If mapapansin mo, some juices, some older batches of fragrances or vintage fragrances have a darker, browner, or just a deeper color. Mas dense yung amoy nila. Why do some people believe that maceration is unnecessary? As I said earlier, it's because ginawa na to na mismo ng manufacturer ng fragrance na yon. Most designer brands and niche brands already do it prior to just sending them to the public. Kasi nga, as I said earlier, gusto ng public na magamit ito agad. And they want it to be as performing agad as possible. So many people believe na hindi mo kailangan i-mature yung fragrance kasi nga it's been done already. Bakit mo kailangan ulitin yung nangyari na? Pero what they're saying is they're against, or not really against, but they don't believe that you should let the fragrance sit after buying it for 2 to 3 weeks, which most people who believe in maturation do. Now, this is why some people believe that it is necessary kasi nga they believe na if you just let it sit for 2 to 3 weeks, it'll get stronger. If you maybe use it or spray it 5 to 10 times, then just let it sit for 2 weeks, mas magiging buo and mas magbe-blend ng maayos yung juices and mas magko-complement yung notes sa isa't isa and mas madidictate mo or ma-distinguish mo yung mga notes sa mismong pabango. And so many people back this up. So many people believe this. Kaya nga, so many people are practicing this. Why am I torn between the two? It's because it depends on the fragrance. Now, there are different types of fragrances out there. There are designers, Middle Eastern, and indies. Of course, kasama ni niche doon, pero sige, gawin nating apat, okay? Designers, Middle Eastern, indies, and niche. Designers and niche already do the maturing process. Before nila ilabas yung sa malls, they already do that. Kasi nga, I've said this 4 times already, gusto nila na magamit agad ng mga consumer yung pabango nila and they want it at the most primed quality as possible. They also have time to do this kasi nga you pay extra for them to actually let it sit for a while. Okay? Kasi nga sobrang rami nilang juice na naka-imbak dyan and they're already maturing it. Even right now, they're already maturing it now. Niche as well, they do that. Kasi nga they want the most primed quality before it hits the malls. They let it mature, they let it sit before they, of course, sell it to the market. And that's reasonable. That's very reasonable. Indies and MEs, on the other hand, Middle Eastern perfumes, or most known as dupes, don't do these. Why? It's the cost of how cheap it is. It's the cost of the cheap price. May dahilan kung bakit mura yung mga Middle Eastern fragrances, and I don't want to expound on that further, but the reason why is kailangan nilang mag-crank or magproduce ng mga pabango to please the masses. Of course, they're selling it sa sobrang cheap na presyo. Kaya what they're doing is they're skipping the maturing process para lang ma-sustain or para lang mapakain yung mga consumer nila ng mga Middle Eastern dupes. Kaya most Middle Eastern dupes that you have right now get stronger and stronger kasi nga you yourself are doing the maturing process for them. Kasi nga they're cranking this out there. They're just selling and selling and selling, and they're just making and making and making, and they're totally skipping the maturing process because they want to satiate the demand of their consumers. What I'm telling you is it necessary for you to mature your Middle Eastern frag? For me, yes. I am a firm believer of maturing when it comes to Middle Eastern frags. But when it comes to designers, when it comes to niches, you don't have to because it is unnecessary. May mga tao nagsasabi dyan na, imposibleng ibenta ng mga Middle Eastern companies na yan sa publiko yung pabango nila nang hindi nila minamature. Well, that's, as I said, the cost of being cheap. Middle Eastern fragrances or Middle Eastern companies don't do that. You know, they just let it, they just create the bottle and ship it, and that's it. Some may compare na yung Middle Eastern and Indies, they're quite the same because they are made to order. Now, ano yung made to order? Made to order is literally pagka-order mo ng pabango, pagka-order ng distributor mo ng pabango, that's when they actually bottle the fragrance. That's when they actually create the fragrance, and then yun nga papackage nila, and then babat nila sa distributor mo. And yung mga distributors, ito yung mga nagbebenta ngayon ng mga frags or Middle Eastern dupes, as well as indie perfumers. Meron dyan mga inspired fragrances or meron dyan mga own blend na fragrances na sila mismo naghahalo before you order, like Crescents. Crescents, kilala ko yung may-ari na to, and he actually combines the oil and the alcohol upon ordering, and then he bottles it right here. Actually, malito kasi sinasalin lang pala niya yung na-premix na juice. So, bali pagka-order nyo, sinasalin na niya yung mismong fragrance and then siniship out na niya. So, yun lang pala. Tayo na bahala mismo sa pag-age ng frag. Kasi nga, well, it just ages naturally. Kasi nga, nakatambak lang yan sa shelf mo, and once you use it, you're already aging it. So, wala ka rin magagawa. Haha. Personal opinion with that, and my final verdict is naniniwala ako sa maturation only on Middle Eastern frags. Now, from my personal experience, this is a Middle Eastern frag. And of course, sobrang alam niyo to, this is Megara. I've reviewed this before already. And nung una kong binili to, malakas na siya, but it's not as strong as it is now. I've been maturing this for 1 month, I think, and let me tell you, sobrang lakas na niya. To the point na 2 sprays is enough. And I swear, I'm an oversprayer. Minimum 8 to 10 sprays ako. This is nauseating. This is so powerful. Kasi nga, well, I matured it for a whole month. And grabe ang lakas na niya. Pag spray ko to, buong linggo ko to maamoy. Talagang kumakapit siya sa hangin. Kaya hindi ko to ginagamit pag sasakay ako or magko-commute ako. Ginagamit ko lang to pag let's say nasa beach ako, or let's say, I don't know, gusto ko mangbuisit ng tao. Kasi to the point na nakakahilo na siya actually. It's not in a bad way. Kailan pa naging good way yung hilo? Well, lumakas siya in a good and bad way. Kasi nga, well, mas naging performer na siya. Pero in a bad way, because nakakahilo na siya. Like, sobrang lakas na ng cologne niya, which is yung dahilan nung parang, well, most would say malangsa na amoy. Malakas talaga yung cologne, but damn, this is powerful. Grabe na to. To the point na it's not really unusable, but it's a fragrance that you won't use all the time. Well, you would, but maybe like 1 to 2 sprays. But anyway, if you guys agree with me, like please like this video. If you guys disagree with me, comment down below. Change my mind. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It's free. Come on, you just press the big red button down below. And thank you guys for watching. I'm Gabriel Muyar, signing out. See you next time. Peace.